En ese momento tus estaciones favoritas, Voz Tacoma Radio Universal, What America Voice, KQWZ 106.5 Low Power FM en South King County y KTQA 95.3 Low Power FM en Tacoma y Pierce County, unen su señal para llevar hasta ustedes el siguiente programa.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. This is Yasmin Ford here in Washington State, Tacoma, with the show Siembra through VT Radio Universal. So good morning to everyone that is listening, that watching through VT Radio channel and YouTube or through our Facebook. Good morning. And my apologies because I know that time is gold. So my apologies to my co-host and to my guest, Kris. We're starting a little late this morning. Actually, not a little, a lot late this morning. So my apologies to you guys. Thank you for getting up this early and sitting here this morning with me. This wet, cold morning in Tacoma. But I still love my Tacoma. I still love my Washington State. Rain, shine, water. I love it here. So let's start the show right away. I'm going to present my co-host that he sits every third Sunday of the month with me, Pastor Dennis. And then we have our special guest. He is Kris Smith. He's been here. He's now no stranger to this show. He's been here before. And before I start the show, I want to just say that this is my last show of the year, because we're not going to have a for Christmas or New Year's. So this is our last show, Siembra, and hopefully we see each other and we see everyone next year at this same place, same time. But this is going to be our last show. So you guys are sitting here with my last show for the year, for 2022. Okay, so we was talking yesterday. Our three of us was talking yesterday, and I talked to Pastor Dennis in the week. And I was telling him because my show leans to more of the political round, but sometimes it can be overwhelming to just have all this. You want to kill somebody when you watch the news because what's going on with politics and the truth. We elect people and whatever they're gonna do when they are sitting and doing. We have no control of what they're gonna do. I mean, look at Christian cinnamon, okay? So we elect people hoping that they're gonna do what we elect them for, but that's not the reality. So I wanted to talk about love. And I know it sounds corny. So for some people, love is corny, but it's not. And me working on myself this year and working for a long time on myself, doing that work to know about love and self-care. It's been a journey for me, and I think it never ends till you out of this journey. That is part of your growth, learning about yourself, learning the things that trigger you, learning the things that make you happy, learning how to love and care for yourselves, especially in these times where it feels like everything is so overwhelming. We have so much information, so much stuff going on that at some point it feels overwhelming. I wanted to talk a little bit also of the stuff that was just signed by the president to make sure that a marriage in same sex be what is that word?
Federally certified.
Yes, but it's still tricky because every state can decide what they want to do too. So it's kind of tricky. I don't know why he just didn't do it overall, just something that is nationwide, just legal. But I don't know what was the holdback on that. So we wanted to talk a little bit about love and love care. I mean, last week we heard, and I don't know if you guys heard about this, the DJ from Helen DeGeneres. He was just 40 years old and took his life. So we are in times where love and we don't know. I don't want to speak for nobody because we don't know. I just feel that you have to be so much pain that you just don't want to be here. that is, you're not thinking really, you're just feeling this pain. But so mental, we talk about the mental part of it, we talk about the physical part of it, this body that we carry, and then we talk about the spiritual part of it too. So we want to talk a little bit about what it is that love look like when we have to take care of all these different parts, tri-dimensional parts that we have. So Pastor Dennis, you can start talking a little bit, and then we're gonna go to Kris. We also have yes, what loves look like. And we have some acronyms that Kris is going to explain to us and let us know exactly what that means when it comes to self-care. Okay, good morning.
Well, I do want to wish happy Hanukkah. This is the first day of Hanukkah.
Yes.
For our Jewish listeners.
Yes.
And I agree with you. It was a huge loss to lose Twitch. And a huge shock.
Yes.
He's such a positive guy that I've not heard any indication that anybody had any idea this was coming down the pipe. But when somebody's at this level, there has to be tells. So somebody must have noticed, but hoped he would pull through. But that is a huge loss, and yes, that's a major part. There's definitely a self-love or a self-care issue there, because he left behind his wife and 3 children, I believe, all of whom seemed like the perfect family. So this is a very important topic, especially at Christmas time, because I think everybody loves Christmas, but everybody hates Christmas too.
Yes.
Because of all the expectations on people. And if you don't go into this season with some type of self-care in place, it can be a horrendous season. You really have to take a hold of your experience with Christmas and handle it on an individual level first, if you're really going to get the most out of this season. Kris, tell us about.
Tell us a little bit about you, for the people that don't know who you are.
A little bit about me. Oh boy,
a little bit about you, just for the people that don't know.
I'm an author, and I'm also a copy and content writer for businesses and stuff. But my trajectory has been, I am transgender. I came out about 2015 with my book Woman, How I Survived Growing Up in a Booby-Trapped World.
And I want to give my endorsement. That is an excellent book. It really.
And Kris, and I got the book. You emailed it to me. Thank you.
And that was my journey, because I think an awful lot of us as children, when we start to become, get our hormones kicking in and stuff, not too many parents will talk to us about what that is all about. It's like kind of a verboten subject. People don't really want, it's like embarrassing to talk about. I really don't want to talk about that. And so it's something that kids hide when they start to become inquisitive about themselves, and they'll hide and they feel shame about stuff like that, And I think one of the things that prevents us from self-care is we think we are hiding something shameful about ourselves. And one of the things that freed me up most was when I was able to name it and claim it. I am transgender. That all of the stuff fell away. That was my shame. And yet I thought, I didn't know there were other people like me earlier on. We didn't talk about this back 60 years ago. We just didn't talk about it. I don't even know if the term transgender was there. All I knew was that when I was growing up, I felt like I was a boy my whole life. And when my breasts started developing and I got a period, it was like being placed in a totally different culture or on a trajectory that I had no intention ever of entering, and it was very, very, I got an ulcer. I started putting on weight like crazy because I didn't want to be attractive. I just backed out of life and said, okay, well, I can't tell anybody about this. They'll think I was a good student. I was an obedient child. I was, really a cool kid, but I didn't want to tell anybody about this thing because this thing was different and I didn't think there was anyone else like me. And as time went on, I read the book by Jan Morris called Conundrum, where he went from male to female. And I kept reading these books and crying with these people. But I'd only heard it from male to female before. And I didn't know that it also went the other way. Anyhow, I think an awful lot of self-care issues start when we have to be strong, especially as women. We have to take care of everybody else before we take care of ourselves. We have to, overachieve in order to be considered, the biblical ideal woman is like superwoman. And you have to be able to say, I'm not superwoman. I am this. I am capable of this much. You cannot give out of your overflow. You have to be able to fill yourself up enough to have enough energy without depleting yourself. And the other thing is I'm an introvert. So I do really, really well one-on-one for a little while, but then I need to withdraw and debrief. I need rest and relaxation afterward. And
I love the fact that you bring up that the basis of this is really a self-doubt.
Self-doubt and a shame. And you feel shame because you were doubting yourself.
Yeah, because there's a culture around us that has an expectation for us.
Exactly.
That we can't live up to, and we feel like if we stand up and declare who we are, we're letting people down.
Go ahead.
Yeah, and one of the things that I was thinking as a Black Afro-Latina woman is that when you have to deny who you are and live like that your whole life, is dehumanizing you. It's taking away that human part of you. I feel like it doesn't make you human. When they tell you, especially boys and girls, they tell them, well, you don't cry. They tell the boys not to cry because you're sissy, is you cry. And then the girls, they have to be strong, right? So we go from here to there, and I'm thinking it takes away that human part of you when they molding you based on gender, based on color, skin, and you can't be fully a human being showing all those things that come with being human, so to me is dehumanizing when you have to walk around denying who you are, or not loving who you are based on the color of your skin, gender, or just based on who you are.
The thing that really made it for me was when the book came out. I thought, I'm going to lose a lot of friends when I do this. People are just going to, the people who love me are going to love me, and I'm sure 80% will flee. None of that happened. I had several people say, guess what? I'm transgender too, but they had never felt safe enough to come out and say it before. Others had said, oh my gosh, please tell me more. My daughter just came to me and told me she's my son. I don't know what to do with this. And as soon as you tell your story, other people will come in and they will. I have not had anybody bash me or badmouth me, or if they have, they've been discreet and they've not done it to me. They have not made me feel any less. There were those who said, oh, if I had known, I would have treated you well. And I had another gal who said, I've known you since you were 6 years old. I always knew there was something about you that was different. I could not put my finger on it. And
so Kris,
transgender, she went, that's it. You are a guy.
Kris, when it is that started that process of self-care, because self-care starts you looking inward and recognizing there is something different about me. And when it is that that process started, that you said, you know what? As you start gaining and looking at yourself differently, you start taking care of yourself, basically. When you start looking inward, when you start questioning, when you start working on yourself, I think that's the process that helps you grow and become, who you are, and make sure you take care of yourself.
And self-care for me began when I was 15, because I realized I'm different and I need to be able to deal with this. A lot of my stuff was like Star Trek related. I did a Spock. I did, I'm going to be logical about this. I'm not going to kill myself. That's not a good thing. I mean, I'm a happy person other than this one little thing. And so I would start investing in the things that weren't of me, that I did not like about myself. I invested in outward things that gave me joy and peace and made me feel like I was continuing to contribute as a writer, as an actor, as a singer, as whatever I was doing, in school. But the thing I have developed over the course of these decades, and more recently, is an acronym that I call ACT, which sounds like an action verb, act. But it's actually, two of them are very, very inactive. One of them is just affirming. I'm here. I have a right to be here. God doesn't make mistakes. Whatever, I'm supposed to be here. Maybe my lesson isn't for me. Maybe it's for other people to learn to embrace and to affirm that I have a right to be here, that I am a good person, that people who know me embrace me and love me. And it's also to affirm, what are my goals? My goals are to try to help everyone feel as loved and as less estranged than I felt most of my life. I want people to know, no matter who you are, no matter what secret shame you carry with yourself, another thing that just recently happened with me is I went to CRI Genetics and I got my DNA tested. And I've never been a nationalist. I've never been a white nationalist. I've never been a racist. And my DNA has been telling me all along, I am from everywhere. My bloodlines are literally everywhere. They start in Africa, they go to Asia, they go to Peru, they go to South America, they go to Mexico, Colombia, Puerto Rico. They are everywhere. My bloodline, either my ancestors were tradesmen along the ancient trades routes, or they were conquerors, and I presume I have both enslaved and enslavers in my background. So the minute, I think everybody should do a genetics test, because the minute you find out how interrelated you are to all these different continents and countries and cultures, you realize, and as I have intellectually my whole life, we are all the same. We all have the same needs and desires and hopes.
Yeah. And I did mine a couple years ago, and I was really, really happy that I did mine. I'm 45% Nigerian, and then the rest is I have a little bit of Jewish, I have a little bit of Irish, a little bit of English, and a little bit of Italian. So who would have thought,
I have all of that inside.
Yes. Who would have thought that I had all of that in there? So I think
I have Han Chinese, I have Thailand, I have Vietnam. I mean, I didn't know this. I thought I came from like Northern Europe, and I did most recently come from Northern Europe. But 28 generations back, I'm in Peru, and I'm in Italy. And
yes.
The gal, the mummy Juanita in Peru, I'm related to her.
So
all of a sudden I'm like, what's she doing? The interesting thing about that is that in all of the cultures I've looked at since I learned this, all of the cultures were very, not ritualistic, but very spiritual based. I mean, the little Peruvian mummy was sacrificed to the volcano gods in a sacrifice, in a religious sacrifice. The one in the Han Chinese dynasty was.
So,
And I'm like,
so I was
So-
thinking about this guy that just killed himself, Twitch. And I was thinking about him because I was thinking that we all come, I don't want to say we, but I think we have a place in a and a mission to serve when we hear. And I think if you're not clear about that, or you feel that your mission or your purpose is already served and you're going to decide that you're done because it's
Right.
done, you know. But I think that's one of the things too that has to do a lot with self-care, is knowing that even though this universe, this world is big, and maybe you would I look at myself like a very little part of this, but necessary part of this that's going on. I think of this like, if I am missing because then there is a chef. There's
Absolutely.
imbalance, because I, like you were saying, I supposed to be here at this time and moment. I have a function. I have a
You're
mission.
A teacher. You are,
Yes.
you are an encourager and a teacher. One of the things on my wall says, if you think you're too small to have an impact, try going to bed with a mosquito in your room. You have to realize that every
The
one of us,
mosquito has a function and a mission, okay?
absolutely they do. But the whole idea is, you think you're too small?
Yeah.
That's one of your things you need to overcome. You are not too small.
No, and I'm
Then
thinking
we're taught to be humble.
even if you think you because when I measure myself with this world and the universe, I see myself as a very small part of it,
That's
but a necessary part of it.
Exactly.
You know, I do feel like when you look at raw, because what happens a lot of times, people, if you think you're the center of the universe, is you think you it.
Right.
But when you look at raw, you say, oh my God, this is bigger than me. This is bigger than I. This is bigger. But I am a part of it, and I'm a necessary part of it. I have a role to play in it, you know.
Your ego is well in check.
And you know, the fact that you can identify what that issue is that gives you self-doubt is massive.
It is.
I was recently reading a book, and the name is escaping me right now, but it talked about that some people there are different scripts that we live by. Okay, there is the public script of what society expects from us. And if a person is fully isolated and doesn't have anybody in their life that shares the same real script about what's different about them, what's unique about them, they oftentimes just feel weird, feel like an outsider, but they often are not able to identify what the real script is, what the hidden script of their life is, and they live with this split and this self-doubt, but they don't know why they feel it, because they've never been able to explore what is different about them. They know they're different. They just don't know how to explain that difference. And Kris, you talked about that in your book. For much of your life, you were unaware of this transgender issue. You just knew you were different.
I knew I was different,
and you couldn't explain it. And there are too many people that are still there. And so of our listeners, you may not be able to acknowledge what that difference is, but the fact that you're struggling with this tells us there's something out there, and you need to keep talking, and you need to keep searching to understand what it is that what's going on, because the first step, I think, to self-care is understanding that hidden script.
Exactly. One of the things that keyed me in was when I was about 32, my dad, I did something, I don't remember what it was, that made my dad immensely proud. And he looked at me and he said, "That's my boy." And as soon as he said it, the look on his face went like, "Oh my God, what did I just say?" He didn't have any sons. It wasn't a mistake. I mean, he only had daughters. And I looked at him and I said, "Dad, it's all right," because it was like for the first time in life, he really recognized me as who I was. And then I got to thinking, I wonder if I was born transgender and they altered me because I didn't have enough of what a male has to, they thought, well, if you just fix this birth defect and raise her as a girl, she'll never know we're any different. But the thing is, our brains tell us who we are. Our body doesn't, our brains tell us. And so I thought, well, was I transgender? And the other thing, was I born intersex, which used to be called hermaphrodite? My mom and dad were both dead. I couldn't ask. And as it turns out, as I did more research, I found out that many doctors didn't even tell their parents when they had a transgender child. Kids usually stayed in the hospital about a week when they were back then. And if they had a birth defect, in quotes, birth defect, they just fixed it. Something.
Oh, wow.
Didn't bother to tell them they that they had a daughter. And so I get raised as a daughter, but my brain is
male. They didn't let you know.
So I could be intersex because I called the Intersex Society at that point. And I told them, I said, "Can I get tested to find out if I'm intersex?" And this wonderful man from the Midwest said, "You could, but it would cost thousands and thousands of dollars. Tell me, are you feeling suicidal?" I said, "No, I'm just so curious. I mean, if I was altered, I would figure my mom and dad did that out of the goodness of their heart and thinking it would be best for me. I had no animosity about it. I just wanted to confirm, my God, I'm a boy."
Thank you.
And he said, the most important thing that he ever said to me was, "Why do you need somebody else to tell you that?"
Yeah.
If that's who you feel you are, that's who you are. And I went, right, nobody else has to confirm this for me. I know. I've always known.
Kris, and you were saying A for affirmation. What are the other two arguments?
Yes, affirming is that I'm here, I have a right to be here, I have a mission to be here, I should be here. And also affirming what that goal is, if you know what it is. And it might be just the next step. I would like to really become a speaker and help transform the world, but I'm scared to speak. So my next step is join Toastmasters. And we're going to learn to speak, and we're going to do it until it's no longer scary. Okay? The second one is it's ACT. The second one is contemplation, or for those of you who aren't into meditation, prayer, or just stilling your mind and allowing yourself to be, is centering. It stands for contemplation or centering, making yourself available to yourself solely, putting yourself in a room by yourself and figuring out what it is to the core of your being, to your essence. The third one is T for treatment. At this point is where things really diverge. Because if you're depressed, you will treat yourself in one way. If you're anxious, you will treat yourself in another way. If you're a super gung-ho, always on, 24/7, 365 person, your thing is going to be to don't do that for a while. Learn not to do that.
Not to be go-go.
Because that could be an escape mechanism. I can't confront myself. I need to stay busy, because as soon as I be quiet, I start to get, unhappy with what I know about myself. So
I see the value of the order of which we put those things in, because if you're truly going to understand that hidden script, you have to stop denying those things.
Right.
Because affirming is being able to accept the dichotomy, accept the split, accept what's that these things are not just a circumstance, or not a circumstance, but these are not just something that just happened out of nowhere.
But culturally, they have set so much rules and so much the way you're supposed to behave. And we're living in a different time. We live in a different time, because even I was talking to my brother, and we was talking about not biracial, gender. What do they call that?
Transgender.
Bisexual, transgender.
No, that you don't have a gender, really. You don't want to have one.
That's usually called gender queer. I'm not sure what I am. There's so many.
No, there is one that is by something where you don't want to put yourself in anywhere.
That's asexual. I don't. Oh, I'm sorry. No, we're not talking sexuality. We're talking orientation here. And the difference between sexual orientation and sexual preference is your sexual preference is who you want to go to sleep with. Your sexual orientation is who you want to go to bed.
Who you want to be.
Yes.
Who you want to be.
So I'm trying to think what that term is.
But by something. But I was thinking that we're living in a time now that the younger and the newer generation they're not allowing to get themselves stuck in any boxes. And that is good. They're not put them in boxes, and you need to behave this way, you need to do that. That comes from the religious side, that they want to manipulate and control people and tell them this is the way you should be. And what I was looking at this list, I have a list that I have, and it says one of the things when you start self-caring is the number one thing that you want to start doing is stop comparing yourself.
Absolutely.
Stop comparing yourself, whether you are a woman or a man, or you are, and you said it, you are uniquely, the Bible talks about that scripture that I like, uniquely made, and God makes us so distinctive. And my hair, my fingers, I cut my finger the other day opening a can, and I was thinking about my my fingerprints. It's got a little alter because I cut it right there. But I said how unique my fingerprints is, and my teeth and your hair and everything. So when you compare yourself to another person, it's like a slap in the face of God saying, you didn't do a good job. So I want to be like this person, when clearly God know what he was doing, right? So there's one of the first things to do is not compare yourself. Look at yourself and said, you know what, I'm grateful. And I had something that my ex-husband used to say, my late ex-husband used to say, you said, you are one of the lucky ones. And he said, you know what, when you was conceived, there was a fight. There was a race to see who get it. And your eggs, and you got it. He said, I love that when he used to say that. He said it was a race. Everybody was trying to get it. Yes. And you got it. So it's, so we are uniquely made. And that, I think, it starts too from that there's nothing wrong with you when you get to that point. Say, I don't need to have this person's face. I don't need to have this person's hair. Everything that I have and God made me was perfectly done.
And that's one of the things I love about some recent developments in how to motivate people. Is they've switched from competing with somebody else to competing with yourself.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's nice.
Because that way you can continue to get better. You still have a motivation, but you don't have to have the that cloud hanging over you.
The envy or the jealousy, because those are all lower vibration. Those are all lower vibration things. Right. An interesting thing. Oh, go ahead.
The other thing I just wanted to mention is I try to be really careful and with making a religion the enemy when we're talking about this issue, because there are two types of religion. There is the religion that is wanting to understand the universe, and there's a religion that is about controlling people.
Correct.
And that's the human version is the controlling self.
That's the ego version. Yeah.
The spiritual version is trying to understand what is and what isn't out there.
Our place in that.
Yes, and control goes beyond the realm of religion.
Oh, absolutely.
It is a centerpiece of politics.
Yes, it is.
So, and it's a centerpiece in a lot of family environments.
Most things.
And in jobs.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a control issue. And we have to, I think we just have to be careful to identify the issue is controlling.
And especially when we start to do it ourselves, we go, okay, now I want to control the outcome of this. Wait a minute, maybe that's not what I'm supposed to be doing. Maybe I'm supposed to be listening.
Exactly.
Maybe I'm supposed to be just taking this in and seeing what resonates and what doesn't. Doesn't mean you're ever going to agree with anybody necessarily, but you get a different perspective. You're going to soften your stance, and you're going to realize we are all in this together. We are all part of.
Controlling is a manifestation of insecurity.
Yes. Controlling oneself ethically is a wonderful thing to do. But trying to control someone else is, it's a fool's errand. It's not really going to work. They have to start looking inside and saying, why do I want to be a control freak? And that's not something you can actually help them with too much. One of the things that I learned as I began to embrace my transgender or intersex nature was the fact that I am really blessed because although I have a male brain, I was raised as a female. And there in a lot of Native American tribes, there is a being that they call two-spirit. Mm-hmm. And a two-spirit is a person either who has equal amounts of the feminine and the masculine in them, or it may be a male who has feminine qualities and wants to work in the female realm, or vice versa, a woman who wants to be a warrior. Because a warrior is a protector and a defender. We don't think of them just as a bloodthirsty killer. They are out to protect their village, their tribe, their whatever. It's an honorable thing if somebody starts coming in. So the thing for me was to go embrace this unique being that you are and understand the qualities that you got from both nature and nurture. Because I hear a lot of women bashing men, and I don't do that. And I hear a lot of men bashing women, and I don't do that. Mm-hmm. Because we shouldn't be bashing each other.
We're individuals.
We are.
Yeah. Even if your self-identity doesn't reach the level of transgender, we all have male issues and female issues.
Yeah, we do.
In different mixes in our lives. And and this whole idea of sexuality being behavior-based is relatively new.
It absolutely is.
I mean,
it absolutely is. It's culturally indoctrinated. Yes.
Yeah. Just to isolate one period of time, during the early years of Christianity, within the first 100 years after Christ, I'm sure you've heard that there were a lot of people that were killed, a lot of martyrs.
Mm-hmm.
And a high number of those martyrs were gender, actually females.
Oh.
But the historic records call them men.
Mm-hmm.
Because gender wasn't tied, those gender terms weren't tied to behaviors.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. Genders weren't tied to equipment, sexual equipment.
Correct.
But
Yes.
they were tied to behavior.
So
Right.
and I was thinking, because we have another, I had a little list here. It says, don't worry about others' opinion. And that is a big one. Worrying about other people, what other people think. And we have
There's
people
really
that
great-
live their life just based on what other people think about them. And with the technology now that we have, the Facebooks and all these different things, I think it even got worse. We have people, it even got where it can be a form. People bully people and Facebook and all these technologies.
Yes.
And how do you get to that level, that confidence of level where that I don't really care what you think about me. I am, and that's what I was telling Pastor Dennis when people say, well, I do accept you the way you are. I accept you as you are. I said, no, you don't accept me. There's nothing to accept.
Right.
You are. And that's it. There's nothing. I don't need you to accept me the way I am. I am who I am, and that's it. I don't need no acceptance from anybody. So, how do you get there that you said, you know what? I am who I am. That's it. I don't. You love me. You love me. You love me. You love me. You don't love me. You don't love me. Okay.
I think that comes with age and experience, because you realize enough people love me that I know I'm lovable. Mm-hmm. And if someone doesn't, that's their opinion, and that's fine, and they're not part of my tribe. It doesn't mean I want to bash them. It doesn't mean I wish them ill. Mm-hmm. It's just that we don't resonate together. We're not on the same vibrational level. Mm-hmm. Let them go. And there's a great quote I learned early on was, other people's opinion of you is none of your business.
That's true.
And
that's the opinion.
That's true to a huge extent. But when you get to work and you get into office politics and how somebody can get you kicked out, and there is a degree where you have to pay attention. You want to fit in with civilization, our so-called civilization. I have a bone to pick with that term. I don't think we're civilized yet, or we wouldn't need to have this discussion.
I agree. You were talking about that, and I've often heard the term of the cosmos or God, and I think what is really important for us to be able to get to what Jasmine is talking about is separating the cultural norms from what the cosmos or God created us to be.
Or created creation to be, because that saying us be, that also is an egotistical, arrogant thing, because if God or cosmos or source or whatever you want to call it, creator, the great spirit, whatever you call it in your culture, created this one planet in this solar system. I presume there are more in other places, but in our solar system, we're the only planet that causes life in the way that this one does. And so to me, if there's whatever you want to call the universal organizer of all of this, I think that spirit loves and embraces all of it, and I think all of it is just as precious as each of us is to it. Yeah, anything you have created is your special thing, and I think it's really hard to to say, well, no, that part of it isn't as lovable as my part of it. You know, I just
Yes, Pastor Dennis. What were you saying?
The point, and what I was intending was
okay.
you were referencing, and it almost sounded like you were denouncing, but I think we agree. It's the wording that to claim that societal expectations are God's expectation or the universe's expectations, that is arrogant.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Absolutely.
But we have to disconnect those two,
Yes.
so that we can realize that the reason why we have this split between our hidden agenda and our public agenda or script, which either one you want to use, is because there is something in us that the universe or God is wanting us to manifest.
Absolutely.
Even if our culture doesn't
want
accept it or embrace it.
Yes.
There you go.
Yes.
That's it.
So I have another one here. It says, allow yourself to make mistakes.
Exactly.
Allow yourself to make mistakes. And that's one of the things. And when you, no, I'm not going to get into politics. Let's just continue.
Let's start at the very, very beginning.
It dehumanize you if you are not allowed. And even I was thinking about the prison systems, and here in the United States, that is one of the biggest, has the most people in prison. That to me, punishing people for certain things, that is telling them you not allowed to make mistakes. You just not, you know.
Oh, you know what? Our prison system isn't just about making mistakes. That is an absolutely intended consequence of the drug wars and everything else.
Oh, we talking about profit. Everything is for profit too.
Absolutely for profit. Most of the people in prison are not there for violent criminal effects. They're there for, smoking marijuana or something.
Yes. Yeah.
That was to get enough black people out of the system so that there were fewer black voters.
Yes.
I mean, that's all rigged.
It's just an extension of slavery.
Yes.
Just the new version of slavery.
Absolutely.
Yes. So we as allowing us to make mistakes is, God knows that He created us. There is the perfect in the imperfect. And that's how He wanted it to be. That there is a perfect thing and being imperfect. So when you're not allowed to make those mistakes, is again, it takes that human part from you.
There's a connection between making mistakes and science.
Yes.
If no one ever makes a mistake, we can never learn anything.
That's
Correct.
true.
You have to remember, from our very, very earliest as kids, we went from being a crawler to a walker. We fell down a lot of times, and every time we fell down, that was a mistake. That wasn't intended to happen.
Oh, you fell
And
down.
we got such encouragement. Oh, good job. Do it again. Do it again.
You see,
Until a certain age, it's like, oh, you're doing it. Oh, look, you're riding the bike. Oh, look. Do it again. Do it again. And then at a certain age, they say, oh, no more mistakes. You are now, and that's not true. The only way you learn is by making a mistake. But you either advance or you learn.
We have the other one. The other one is remembering that your value doesn't lie in how your body looks. Wow, that's a good one.
Exactly.
That's a very good one. Especially today, we live in a time, and I said for women and also for men, that we want this body. Everybody wants to have the same body. And we have, in Spain, they're saying we have girls 11 years old doing their breasts and doing their butt lifts at 11 and 10 years old.
Yeah.
So this message that is sexualized completely, telling women you have to look this way and you have to be perfect. And then we also have men that are doing a lot of stuff on themselves too, you know. It's crazy to see how we got to where, again, we're going into that we have to be perfect. We have to look certain way.
This is an extension of the purity culture.
Yes, it is.
We have a fixation with having to be with some ideal of perfection that everybody has to measure up to. It's a leftover from eugenics. It's a part of that human drive to be accepted by who you become.
It's also it's part of the drive to control who others
Exactly. Yes. That is a huge element of it.
Yes.
So, and we're going to number 5. Don't be afraid to let go of toxic people.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, and the next thing, when I came out as transgender, I think all the toxic people just kind of fled. It was like, this is too nice a person for me to,
I do.
I'm not going to talk about it.
I do have a hard time. I remember this happened to me. I got sick, very sick in 2003. And I went to my doctor. I went a couple times before I got sick. I know my body, something was different about my body. And he sent me home. He said, no, you have allergies. And I went back and he said, no, you this. Finally, I went back and I stayed in the hospital like for 7 days. And they even did a little bit, I took a little bit of medication from chemo medication to help me because my body, my whole body was all over the place. And I remember going back to that doctor driving, and God said to me, what is going to take for you to let go of that doctor? He said, what is going to take for you? And even with your doctor, that toxic relationship that you had with him, that he just brushed you off and sent you back home a couple times, you knowing that you wasn't feeling well, you still going back to the same doctor. What is wrong with you? And I was driving and I stopped and I said, oh my God. So I have problems in that area it takes me a while to say, okay, I got to let this go, so it does. Yes. But even you can have toxic relationship with your doctor, with your boss, you can have toxic relationship with your kids, with your family, your brother, your siblings, and you feel that you can't let that go. There's no way I can let my family cut ties with family or this. And at what expense? Expense of your health, your mental health, your health? I don't know. And there is a lot of people that think that way. There's family and stuff. You can't do that.
We have to be able to establish boundaries. Mm-hmm. Okay. Just because a person is toxic doesn't mean we have to give up on them.
Right.
It just means we don't let them identify who we are. Mm-hmm. We have to create a boundary that distances them enough that their toxicity doesn't cripple us. Mm-hmm. And when we get stronger, we might be able to maintain a little closer relationship with them, but never to the point where it is toxic to our reality.
Okay. Right. So we have number 6, process your fears. That's a big one too. It's big. Process your fears.
Your fears.
Your fears, yes.
You have to face them.
Fear and
I don't
fears.
know what happened to me, but I have been almost. I think I'm pretty bright, so I don't think I'm just kind of fearless. It's like if I want to do something, I go do that thing. And I mean, I have a life trajectory that is totally antithetical to what most women were supposed to be doing. When I was a kid, I just said I was going to be a writer. Well, heck, most male writers weren't even being writers. And I just kept going, no, this is what I'm here to do. I'm here to write. And I just kept, and then I had teachers and I had actors and I had other writers encouraging me. Yes, indeed, you are a writer. Keep doing that. So I can't really talk the fears. I just ignore them. I just, I go, I was a little afraid of speaking. One of the reasons I started my own podcast is I'm a really good writer because I love processing things in words, but to actually sit down because I'm introverted, to actually express them here as I am to you now was intimidating to me. I didn't want to get in front of a camera and do anything like that. I said, okay, well, here's what you're going to do. That was my remaining fear. You're going to do a podcast. Can't tell you how nerve-wracking that was the first 5 or 6 times. And then now it's just like rolling off a log. That was the last fear I did. It's like fear is false evidence appearing real.
Exactly.
Yeah,
our amygdalas are really good at saying, oh, that might be dangerous. Oh, that might be dangerous. Oh, that might be. Well, I got news. If you don't think it's going to kill you, and a lot of people said they would rather go into war, in a battle, than speak, then you need to speak, because speaking is a whole lot less dangerous than going into war.
And fear can cripple you. Fear is crippling. You know.
Fear is that public script that's controlling you and preventing you from understanding the hidden script. And so you have to be willing to test fear, because if you don't test fear, it just grows in you. It gains more power.
It's true.
And more influence.
It's true. The more
all of the good stuff is outside your comfort zone.
The more and I was saying, when I got sick, one of the medications that they gave me panic attacks. I remember. Oh my God. I don't. It's just horrible. And I remember me driving myself. I had to go drive myself once a week because they had to check on my blood. And my ex-husband, he was working, and my son was still young, and I said I have to drive myself, and I really didn't want to because I was shaky. It's just out of myself. And I said, and something told me in my head, and I know it was God. He said, if you don't drive yourself to this, you will never drive again.
Yes.
And that's how fear is. You let it in. You let that fear take over you.
Exactly.
You are never gonna drive yourself again.
Yeah.
So I took every once a week I drove myself. But that is true. Fear can take over you, and once it take over you, it's crazy.
I know what I'm about to say. Some people are going to call me a heretic for saying this, but that concept is the concept the Bible refers to as demon possession. It is allowing those fears to own you.
Correct.
To
keep you from your
fear
purpose.
and demons are the same thing.
Okay, so we're going to go with number 7. Trust yourself to make good decisions for yourself.
Amen.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more.
About that.
Okay, and it says right here, take every opportunity. I like this one. Take every opportunity life presents or create your own.
Correct.
Take every opportunity life presents or create your own.
Yes.
And I was thinking, when my ex-husband used to tell me about, you made it, look at this race, everybody is racing to make it. And I was thinking about that. I said, life is a gift. It is a gift,
And you really don't have to race to make it, because if your mission is there, it's going to come to you too. I don't mean you can just sit there passively and expect, the universe to open itself to you, but you do have to knock on every door, get mentors, do some shadowing, wherever you want to go, try to find somebody who will open a door for you. If they won't, yes.
And basically, what they're saying is that life already comes with a scenery, but you can create your own. It's an open canvas for you to create your own, your own drawing, your own picture, your own life is yours. You can do whatever you want with it.
It's called self-actualization.
Mm-hmm.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
when I was a kid, I thought, gee, I'm just a really good kid at some point. Someone's going to tap me on the shoulder and say, you're a really good kid. Let's go do this thing, And then I realized, no, you really have to go after it. You can't just sit there. You have to actually pursue what it is you want to do. And from that point on, it just all opened up because it was like, okay, I'm a little scared to knock on this door, but I'm going to knock on this door.
Right.
There you go.
I want to add a point with this whole discussion too, is when a person first stops living by the public script and tries to find the hidden script, they engage in what we call rebellion. Okay,
you being difficult.
And when you initially, with the first stages of rebellion, usually have some bad results to go along with it. So, initially your impulse to do something different may not be the smartest thing in the world, but nonetheless, it's empowering you to be able to think independently. And once you get past the initial rebellion, then you will start to be able to trust your judgment. Those first movements, probably not, but they have to happen if you're going to be able to think for yourself.
Okay, we have number 9, put yourself first. And that is big for women. And also, there is this thing in the church. I know I probably should, Pastor Dennis would say, but there is this thing in the church that if you put yourself first, you're selfish. And it's not good to be selfish. And so you're always thinking, if I put myself first, so this is this notion in the church that you don't never put yourself first, you put other first. And I'm learning now that I can be good to nobody if I don't. How Maya Angelou said something. She said something that I love what she said. She said, if you are dependent on somebody that never puts themselves first, do not trust them. She said that. It was like, wow,
First responders, policemen, firemen, military folks, the very first thing they are taught is don't take a victim to the rescue. Be absolutely certain it is safe to enter that situation and take good care. Now, I think the police in Uvalde took that to an extraordinarily awful result and did absolutely nothing.
Right.
But in most cases, that is very wise. You don't rush into a street after a car accident without stopping the traffic first so that you don't become an additional victim. It's always taking a look around you, seeing, is it safe to proceed, and then proceeding. That's kind of what self-care is all about. It's making sure I feel robust. I feel able to do this. It is safe for me to do this. And I want to do this. The most important is, do you want to do it? Don't say yes and then regret it. Think about it. If you think you're going to say yes and regret it later, say no.
Yeah.
If you're not giving out of joy, you're giving for the wrong reasons.
That's true.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if you're too tired or you're weary, it's okay to say no. I took a class when I was about 35 because I felt like I was a real people pleaser, a real yes person. And it was an assertiveness training course. And one of the things she said was, you always have the option to say no. And my thought was, gee, well, how many people will even stay your friend if you say no? She says, why don't you find out? Because they're not your friend. If you can't say no to them once in a while, they're not your friend. They're using you.
So
Exactly.
Whoa.
we're gonna go with number 10.
Hey,
See?
can I make a statement on that last one? That the Bible has a lot of aspirational statements, things that would make society better. But Christianity has had a horrible track record of turning aspirational statements into foundational statements.
Yes.
That these are things that we are expected to do. These are not things that sometimes we can't do those things.
Yes.
Right.
Because we're not in a healthy enough space to be able to.
Yes.
But
Just
those
like
are things that we want to be able to be healthy enough to be able to do. Going into a burning building to save somebody, anybody off the street can't necessarily do that.
And I don't think,
Big skill.
and I don't think that really what that means. I think a lot of times we stop taking care of ourselves and
Exactly.
and put other people first. You know,
Exactly.
I mean, going to a burning building, a firefighter is trained to do that, and he's paid to do that. You know, but I'm thinking, especially for women, we are expected to just put ourselves behind, and everything is family oriented, and we find ourselves that the Bible enforce that, or the people that preaches the Bible says, oh no, you know, this is what you do. But no, I was thinking Cardi B, rapper, I remember watching an interview. I like her. She said, and they asked her, who is the love of your life? And she said, myself. I am the love of my life. I was, oh my God, that's so cool what she said. She said, I'm the love of my life, and they don't teach us that. They don't tell us that you're not humble. If you, as I say something like that, you're not humble. I love when she said that. I'm the love of my life. I am, so that is cool. But let's go. There's a couple ones that I like.
Can I ask you one more? Can I mention one more thing about 1 minute worth?
Okay.
One of the things I wanted to give listeners an opportunity to actually practice kind of what we're talking about here. And to tune into your body, really tune into your body. If somebody tells you to smile, that's going to be a fake smile. So I don't want to tell you to smile right now. But at the next time you smile, I want you to remember what that feels like, what your body chemistry does when you genuinely smile. You absolutely turn on all kinds of endorphins and all kinds of things in your body that makes your body work better. Next time you get stressed and your hands are clenched, or your brow is furrowed, or your mouth is down, feel what that feels like chemically inside your body. And anytime you're starting to feel at all stressed or whatever, tune into your body, say, what does that feel like? And reverse it.
So I get this.
We tell our bodies what to do.
I get
our subconscious mind tells our body to beat our heart and run our blood, but our conscious minds actually say, this is what I'm thinking. And the body says, okay, if that's what you're thinking, this is what I'm going to do for you. And so if you can remember to take your anxiety or whatever it is and feel what that feels like, and then back it out. You can do that. Your mind can help you do that. Okay.
This is a really good one. I like this.
Okay.
Feel pain and joy as fully as you can.
Which is what Kris just talked about.
Yes.
Because a lot of times they tell us not to, it makes you weak if you feel pain, or it's joy,
Walk it off.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, and there's two more because our time is running. I like to see beauty in the simple things. And I think as you get older, you start doing that.
Yes, you do.
Yeah, as you get older, you want more the simple things. and you see more beauty in things that are maybe a little 2-year-old baby walking around, or a bird sitting, drinking water. And those are the things that you enjoy more. Even for this time of Christmas time that people crazy shopping and trying to please other people and buy stuff for other people.
Give yourself at least 10 or 15 minutes a day to just go outside and listen to the birds or walk in nature or do something and listen, don't take a Walkman, bundle up if it's this time of year and just walk out there and just pay attention, and you will de-stress.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we have the last one. I missed a couple of them, but I want to do be kind to yourself. Yes. Be kind to yourself.
The one thing I want to make everybody aware of is every blessing becomes a curse when you neglect yourself.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. So we're going to
have all those blessings, but we have to take care of ourselves so they remain.
I like that, Pastor Dennis. Now we're going to be closing, and you know that this is our last show for this year, Siembra. So I want you guys to say, we have about 3 minutes. Say something to the people. Thank you. I want to thank you, Pastor Dennis, for taking this time and moment, sitting every Sunday, third Sunday with me. Also, Kris, thank you. Thank you for all the wisdom that you bring and the transparent and the openness, because that's how we're supposed to live our authentic self, So just couple minutes, because we don't have a lot to say.
I'll do 30 seconds, really.
Okay.
I say keep a gratitude journal. You were just talking about count your blessings. Keep a gratitude journal. That will do more for you than anything else. The other thing I want to say, since it's the end of the year, is Happy Hanukkah, Happy Holidays, Joyous Kwanzaa, Merry Christmas, Feliz Navidad, and anything else that anybody can say. Whatever language you are, I wish you absolutely wonderful
thank you.
season and a wonderful 2023.
Okay, Pastor Dennis, your turn.
When anybody starts this process of self-care, it will start messy. Anybody who is getting freed from something that's controlled them starts out angry. Expect it. Okay. The stages of grief, if you're not familiar with that, I can't remember, Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, are really good to know about, because when you start anything new, you're going to go through a range of emotions. Don't stop. And you will probably have to come back and apologize to somebody because you're going to tick somebody off. But some of those people needed to get ticked off. And maybe a little bit of time in their anger will change them.
Okay, so thank you guys. Have a beautiful, awesome day. I see you maybe next year or maybe before next year. I don't know. Thank you. Feliz dia. Have a good day. And thank you, Kris, and thank you, Pastor Dennis.
Would you please send the link so that I can put it up on my Facebook page?
Yes.
We'll do it.
Thank you.
All right.
And thank you, Kris, for being behind the scenes all this.
Yes.
You did a great job.
Yes.
My pleasure. Always here. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Feliz Navidad.
Yes.
Feliz Navidad. Joyous Kwanzaa.
KQWZ
106.5 Low Power FM, SeaTac, Washington.
One America Voice, con justicia para todos.
El Departamento de Salud del Estado de Washington, DOH en inglés, continuará la distribución gratuita de kits de prueba rápida de COVID-19 por lo menos hasta el fin del 2022. A pesar de la descontinuación del apoyo federal para los programas de prueba. En esta época de alto índice de infecciones respiratorias, los kits de prueba rápida ofrecen una forma fácil de detectar casos de COVID-19 sin necesidad de atender algún centro médico. Los residentes de Washington podrán solicitar hasta 10 kits gratuitos a través del programa de Say Yes COVID Test. Para pedirlos, visite sayyescovidhometest.org/es. Los kits llegarán por correo a su residencia o lugar de trabajo sin costo alguno. Infórmate más visitando doh.wa.gov o llama al 1-800-525-0127.
Este mensaje es traído a ustedes con el apoyo del Departamento de Salud del Estado de Washington.